Rogers Communications says it's looking into selling the Toronto Blue Jays. Although no deal is imminent, Rogers says it wants to free up some of its assets. But while the Jays make up only a minuscule portion of Rogers' profit, there's considerable brand value tied up in that whole project. To discuss what a potential deal might look like and the complications that could arise, we're joined by Howard Bloom of Sports Business News. Nice to see you, Howard. Does it make sense for Rogers to sell the Jays?
Oh, absolutely. I think at the end of the day, Blue Jay fans are going to be very upset if, in fact, the Blue Jays are sold. But nobody cheers for the owners. Everybody hates the owners. If the team wins, everybody loves the players. If the team loses, everybody blames the owners. This was never something Rogers could win. But just ponder this little tidbit. In the year 2000, they buy the Blue Jays for $168 million. The team is now worth well over $1 billion. Quite a return on investment.
It is indeed. And I mean, Fortune magazine does that sort of rundown of what all the various franchises are worth. And there was an interesting one a couple of years ago that sort of tied up the way that Rogers has increased the value of that franchise. And part of it was the integration with the distribution side, the fact that they own the building, the fact that they own the broadcast rights. Are they able, when those are all so deeply integrated, are they able to pull out just the team and sell that off, or will they have to sell the whole sort of end of it?
Well, the fact remains that anybody who's going to buy the team is going to want the ability to sell the broadcast rights. I don't think Rogers will be able to put into perpetuity for a long-standing deal where they own the broadcast rights. That's the most valuable portion of the team. The biggest challenge that Rogers is going to have, not so much how much of a line item it is, but you can bet that Bell Media and TSN are going to step up to whomever the new owners of the Blue Jays are, and they're going to attempt to make a deal like Rogers did to steal the NHL rights from TSN.
Right, no doubt. You talk about whoever does step in, and we'll get to whether you think that Rogers will actually sell them or not in a second. Who do you think might be in the running to buy the franchise?
That's a good question. Somebody asked me that question earlier today. I could tell you who's going to likely bring baseball back to Montreal. A lot of names there, but a lot of that is built on bringing back the Expos. I don't really see a great fit for anybody who wants to buy the Blue Jays. Maple Leaf Sport and Entertainment, owned by Bell and owned by Rogers, is called the Unholy Alliance. Yes, that makes sense because they own the broadcast rights. The thing with the Blue Jays is the value, again, is in the broadcasting. There aren't that many Canadian billionaires walking around with money to burn. Remember why Charles Bronfman sold the Expos. He sold the Expos because they were a money-losing proposition, and he wanted to become a philanthropist. He wanted to give money back to his community as opposed to give money to baseball players. The Blue Jays can't make money. Let's be honest about that. However, it makes sense if you own the broadcast rights and everything else. Just to sell off one without the other, good luck to Rogers.
I said off the top that the Jays make up such a small percent. I think it's 3% of Rogers' total revenue. I don't think a lot of Canadians know that. And is the value then really caught up in brand and in brand association with something that everybody loves? Or is it just sheer whatever it is, $200 million in revenue a year?
Come back to my comment about everybody hates the owners. The Blue Jays finished in last place last year. They're losing a lot of players. They go back into the dumper. They don't become a contender. All of a sudden, when somebody is making a buying decision on whether or not they're going to get a Rogers or a Bell cell phone, all of a sudden, when somebody's deciding on Bell 5 or Rogers Cable, that instance of a decision, they can say, oh, I'm mad at Rogers because they've done a terrible job with the Blue Jays. No, they haven't done a terrible business job with the Blue Jays, but the consumers are upset at the fact that Rogers owns the Blue Jays and the Blue Jays are a terrible baseball team. That's the inherent risk for Rogers owning the team, and where the brand of Rogers can suffer a great deal of damage.
Howard, I've missed you. It's good to get you back on the show.
Thanks for the opportunity, as always.
That was Howard Bloom of Sports Business News.